Hello, it's Sarah from Hardcover Hearts, and I'm here with my week of reading wrap-up. This is where I talk about the books that I read this week, what I'm currently reading, and potentially could read next week based on my mood. So, a very strange reading week. I did not finish the amount of books that I normally finish, which is fine. I mean, I don't go for a number count each week, but it means that I was struggling to find my way with a number of books that were kind of in play. We'll talk about that in a minute, but let's talk about what I did finish. So this one came on my radar because I'm a huge fan of this author's kind of more current series. The author is Sujata Massey, and the new series is the Praveen Mystery Series. And that's set in India in colonial times with this really amazing woman, the first Indian woman barrister. It is based on a true character in real life. And so I love that series. And I know that the new one's coming out, and I put a request into NetGalley, but I haven't heard back yet. And so as I was doing some research to see when that would come out, I saw that she had a previous series, and I thought, well, let me try it. So this was put out in 2000, and it's the Salaryman's Wife, and this is the Ray Shimura series. This is the first one. Now, you know how what I always say about the first of any mystery series, there's a lot of context setting, there's a lot of setting up the character and a lot of backstory. So the mystery is interwoven, but you're also getting a lot of just data dump and setting up the contexts for whoever our main solver of these crimes will be. In this case, it's Ray, and she is a Japanese American who is living in Tokyo. So it's Japan modern day, so it does differ in that sense from the other series that she does. And what I think worked really well with this book is all of the cultural conversation, because she is an American. She lived in California, who has moved to Japan, and there's class conversations, there's racial conversations, because she is not 100% pure Japanese. She's Japanese American, and so that does create some tension, and it allows her as the narrator to kind of talk us through certain things that are very Japanese, cultural things. And I thought that was a really great way to do that. And I think it was a great way to spend some time with a book for Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which is this month. So I liked the book. I think it did what I expected it to do, which is to provide a mystery. But the setting and the atmosphere and the character and the cultural aspects really set it apart and upped the ante a little bit. I might continue with this while I wait for the next Praveen Mystery edition to come out. The next thing that I read, you heard me rave about the first one. This is the second in the Sam Wyndham series. This is number 2, Unnecessary Evil by Abir Mukherjee. Sorry for the library copy. Try to get it out of the light there. Absolutely loved it. I am now enamored with this series. Thank you, Mel, from Mel's Bookland Adventure, because spot on. So we have Sam. He is from the UK. He is ex-Scotland Yard who has come to India, and he just is very aware of things. And the way that the author writes the issues with colonialism is so astute, so smart, very clever. It's not in your face, but it brings out all sorts of dynamics of the impact of colonialism, and through Sam's eyes. And it's such a great character. He is a very flawed man. He doesn't necessarily stand on principle, except that he believes in justice. And there's very interesting conversations of the difference between solving a crime and getting justice, that they're two separate activities, which I thought was quite interesting. There's so much here. The atmosphere is amazing. When we open this book, we have Sam and his sergeant escorting a prince. And as they're escorting the prince through some roadblocks and things, the prince is assassinated on their watch. So it is a real bad situation for our main character. He decides that he is going to go to the kingdom that this prince comes from, and he is going to attend the funeral services, but in an unofficial manner, because he believes that he needs to solve, he has a personal obligation and responsibility to solve who hired this assassin. And while he's in this kingdom, there's all sorts of political intrigue and all sorts of things about how this kingdom looks at colonialism, whether to join forces with certain aspects that are more capitalist in nature, certain aspects that are more political with with England. Quite interesting. There was a twist that I found delicious. And I just think this series is sublime. So I will be getting the next one from my library. It's that good. Then I just finished this last night. And when I tell you that it's been a long time since I have been so irate at a book, yelling, throwing my hands up, having to put it down, having to walk away, coming back, being so caught up in the drama, in the characters, in what they're doing, why they're doing it. No, don't do that. And there is one of the more annoying, horrible characters that I absolutely detest in this book. And it's, in essence, I think it's meant to be a love story, but for me, it was an anti-love story. It was an anti-romance. This book is Night and Day by Virginia Woolf. Who expected that? Not me. I did not expect that. I'm reading the Virginia Woolf fiction oeuvre with Elizabeth of Bookish North. I'll put a link to her channel below. Our check-ins about this book were hilarious. She did not find one of the characters as odious as I did. I was repulsed. What we have here is the story of four main characters in essence, but through the lens of really two. First is Catherine, and she is the daughter of a granddaughter of a very famous poet, and she lives with her family, and she's in her 20s, very, very smart, very proper. She has drawing room etiquette, so she's a proper hostess, capable, smart, doing the will of her mother, who wants to write a story about her very famous father. The mother has no skills and is kind of all over the place, kind of like a Luna Lovegood from Harry Potter series, kind of that kind of flighty character. Great for comic effect. But she's hemmed in, and she is hemmed in by her class. Now, everyone else, when they meet her, they see her class. They see the evidence of her class. They see her family lore and history. They see her manners. They see her beauty. They see her posh dress. But they don't see her. No one sees her. We are introduced to the character of Ralph. And he is someone who comes into her home for a tea, invited by her father, because he's a lawyer, but he wrote something for the father's magazine. And that's how they are introduced. You also meet someone that she ends up becoming engaged to, named Rodney. And Rodney is of her class. He is of her her social circle, and everyone just kind of assumes that they are going to get married, and they have a very good friendship. You could tell that they like each other. She's always trying to encourage him. He enjoys her. He's enamored with her and tries to be a better man for her. We also meet Mary, who I think was the most sublime character in the entire book. She is a woman who does her own thing. She's fully do-it-yourself. She lives on her own. She hosts a salon, a literary salon in her apartment. She is a suffragette, works as in the suffragette office, and is just very interesting, very literary, but her class is kind of like high middle class. We don't know anything about her history, about her family, or anything like that. And I should mention that Ralph, the first male character I mentioned, he works in a law office. He lives with his family. He's the oldest son, but they are not of means. He's supporting the family and kind of, I would say, upper middle class. So in this book, we're getting a lot of compare-contrasts, but Virginia Woolf style, which is so subtle, she'll do things like sometimes she has mirroring scenes where someone acts as someone else and does the same thing that someone else did, but maybe with a different outcome. Or she will sit them side by side and have them thinking different thoughts or thinking the same thoughts. And communication is at the core. Like, what do people say? What do they not say? There's a lot of what are people holding in the shadows in the night and day type of way. You know, what's held in shadow, what's in the light, what's a dream like. So there's dreams versus harsh reality and practicality. Again, night and day, the dark and the light. But it's so subtle and it's so thoughtfully rendered, and it's rendered throughout. But it drove me mad. It drove me crazy. And it just speaks to the fact that she writes characters so expertly with so much richness that I felt like I knew these characters. I felt like I understood them, and I wanted things for them, and I wanted them to not do things. That's all I'm going to say about this, except to say that the ending I felt just kind of dissolved, or that as we got to the end, it didn't give me what I wanted. You know, and a lot of times I don't need my needs met usually in a book, but I need to understand it or believe it. And I didn't necessarily believe the ending of this, but no spoilers. I won't say any more, but I would love to know, have you read Night and Day by Virginia Woolf, and what are your thoughts? Okay, so then those are the only things that I read. 3, I know. You're right. Okay, let's talk about what I am reading. I need to get back to Monsieur Marcel Proust and In Search of Lost Time, Volume 3, The Guermantes Way. I've been bad with this, so I need to up the ante. And making phenomenal progress with this. We're reading this very slowly, me and my In Real Life book club, but we had a check-in last week and it was just so good. We kept talking and kept talking and kept talking. Very similar to the way Virginia Woolf does her characters. There's a richness here. There's a lot of specificity, and that specificity just gives you such layers and richness in the story. It's almost textual. You smell, see, feel, hear. Really enjoying it so far, and I'm really glad we're taking it slow, because at first blush you could just run through this, but there's a lot here, so it's worth taking our time for. I'm enjoying it very much. We're a third through. I have a check-in tomorrow, so I'll be reading this evening. And then I have a book that I'm bored out of my mind with. I'm about 55% away in, and it is Jane Harper's The Survivors. Y'all, a lot of you told me this was not your favorite, and I have to agree, I'm not enjoying it as much. I'm going to skim through it and try to get this one just out of the way. What I'm finding with this is just these, what I love about the previous Jane Harper books was the setting was almost a character. And there was so much richness and there was so much uniqueness that I felt I gleaned about the Australian outback. But this is a seaside town, and it just feels like it could be any seaside town. It's lacking that specificity. There's a lot of characters. And when people said that this is a very white book, man, no kidding. There is not a single character of color in this entire seaside town. So that, and it feels it. There's a similarity to all of the characters that I'm getting. I'm getting a few of them confused, which is not good. That's not good. And it's just the pace is not there. I'm not enjoying it as much. But I will give my final verdict next week because I plan on speeding that one up. Okay, so that's what's currently at play and on deck. I got so busy and with work and other things that Leo and I completely forgot to start our buddy read. Whoops. Now, Monday is Memorial Day, so I'll be taking the day off. So I've asked him if we can read this over the weekend. And with Anita Brookner, this is Anita Brookner's Fraud, I should say. With Anita Brookner, she always writes really slim but packed, dense books. And we tend to, with our buddy read, we read 3 chapters and then check in. And we tend to move pretty quickly through it. So hopefully we'll be able to do this weekend. And then I am going to allow myself to just see where my interests take me this weekend. I do have some time off. I'm really looking forward to it. And I have a lot of books. And so I just want to just grab some and see where it could lead me. We will see. That's it for me for now. Thank you so much for watching. But please remember, we are still in a global pandemic, and it's still really wise to maintain safe social distance. When you're around unvaccinated people or in close quarters, please wear a mask. And make sure to wash your hands frequently and do not touch your face. Let's do that until we're globally out of this pandemic. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.